It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcasting the other bald beauty in dentistry, Alex Nottingham with AllStarAcademy.com. And I'm sure
AllStar Dental Academy.
AllStarDentalAcademy.com. What did I say?
AllStar Academy.
AllStarDentalAcademy.com.
You'll end up at a cooking show otherwise.
Oh, really? AllStar Academy is a cooking show?
Cooking show, yeah. If you want cooking, go there.
Well, you know, it was love at first sight with me and you, because not only is your wife the most adorable woman in all of dentistry, Heather, but you know, dentistry, one of the fundamental strategic problems of dentistry is the dentist gets 8 years of training, the hygienist gets 4 years of training. My assistant Jan, who's been with me 29 years, she had a 1-year dental assisting CDA program training. And then when you need someone to run a job that's named after a piece of furniture, the front desk, you know, they just go get some nice person. And I met someone just the other day. Remember, I don't want to say his name because it'll get back to Zach. But anyway, you know, he was hired for a front desk of a dental office, and the doctor hired him and talked with him over a cup of coffee for 5 minutes, and then threw him at the front desk. There was zero training, and every time I meet staff that run, you know, the front desk, well, what do you call the front desk? You call them business admin? You call them receptionists? You name them after furniture?
You know what? There's multiple names, and you know, team members, because you know, it's not just the quote front desk, the furniture, or the front, or the admin team is probably, you can lump there, because you know, depends how you break it down. You have the office manager, you have your front lines people, the front lines. You have maybe somebody who specializes in insurance, or the new patient coordinator could be, depending on your office is big enough. You know, my father's office, we'll tell a story later, we had a new patient coordinator. And there's a whole bunch of names. I think that when it comes to names, I would name things that they can be excited about, like guest services coordinator or something that sounds good, versus saying, oh, here's my front desk. So I agree. I mean, it's kind of slang. I wouldn't make a habit of that. So.
Well, I think if they're named after the front desk, then dentists should just be called drills. You know, here's Dr. Handpiece over here. But basically, what you did is you saw this problem where the people, I think, what would they be called in a law firm? What would they be called? Business admin, or administrative assistants. Yeah, administrative assistants. They all get training. And what I can't understand is, if you go get a job today at McDonald's or Subway, you have to do online training. I think Subway's 12 one-hour modules to get a job at Subway. And then you go get a job at a place that does root canals and implants. Right. And there's no online training. And if you start Monday at 8 o'clock, you'll literally be sitting at the desk answering the phone Monday at 8 o'clock with 0.00 training.
Well, there's no training period in terms of, especially when the administration team, admin team, clinical gets clinical training. But let's just look at the entire practice, because I don't just advocate just your admin team. The entire team is lacking when it comes to customer service skills. And you mentioned McDonald's and Subway, great franchises that are very consistent. And then you also look at dentistry, which people don't look forward to going to the dentist. I got to tell you, I'm sure you know that this isn't their first place to go. And then you combine that with very little customer service. Now, we like to model and teach the Fortune 500. We look at the best in the business. And we'll talk my story. My wife came from Bloomingdale, so we take a lot of things from there. The Ritz-Carlton will not allow someone to touch a phone without 3 months of training on the phone. And if I tell you, and we could talk about this, and we talked in the past as well, is the cost of missing that phone call, not handling it well, thousands of dollars, done, gone. And it's amazed me. You know, dentists are complaining, they're struggling. I remember when I interviewed you, and you're like telling dentists, you know, wake up, you know, train, don't be lazy. I remember that lecture. But also be smart about it. I mean, you're different because you're a business person. You have that mind. And I speak to hundreds of dentists a year. and work with thousands of them, and they don't get it. They don't have the business acumen. Some are very lucky like you. I don't know where you figured it out. There's a handful that can be great dentists and great business people, but the others don't realize that training's so key. You train, you get it. So, but it's not commonplace in dentistry.
So what were you thinking when you married a woman who worked in Bloomingdale's? You'll never be able to afford that woman.
Well, it's funny you say that because I remember when we were first dating, she would come home and she would tell me what she spent. And then I said, do you know you just gave back your entire paycheck? Well, I have to look good to sell. I'm like, but if you're giving your paycheck back to them, don't they give you a clothing allowance? Yeah, they give me thousands of dollars in clothing. Well, what else are you buying? So what was amazing though about Heather, and she's the inspiration behind all of this, the heart, I call it the heart of AllStar. Maybe I'm the brain. She doesn't care about the numbers, but she's the heart. But she was able to change that habit, that shopping habit, and focus all that great customer service and care. And now she's very frugal. You know,
Okay.
She doesn't spend that much.
So let's set up the problem for my homies. So my homies are they're commuting to work. We do these shows an hour. They got an hour commute to work. They actually want 2 shows a day. I can't do that many. But the bottom line is this: they're a dentist, so they're focused on they want to learn how to do a better root canal and bone graft and place an implant. And I just really don't believe they get the problem. Is the main problem that when they do marketing and advertising and social media, that it generates about 3 phone calls to get 1 to schedule an appointment?
That's
so
right.
They're losing 2/3 of all their marketing value. Is that
That's
the
right.
main problem, or is there 2 or 3 main problems that you're addressing?
Well, so you have, it's much like a dentist. You have what's causing the pain, how can I fix that and stop the bleeding? And then what's the underlying problem? So the problem that they're feeling the pain is, I'm spending all this money on marketing and it's not converting. I'm not, and the marketing company is saying, listen, I'm generating you phone calls, but you're not converting them. They're not showing up. They're breaking appointments, right? They're not getting the cases they want. So the right there to solve that problem is you got to invest in your team on customer service, phone skills, how to handle scheduling productively, not just, we like to say you want to work smart, not hard. It's good to do both, right? Hard and smart, but you don't want to just be working like that. But then you have to then look deeper. There's also a systemic, deeper problem, which is a lack of leadership. Now if they have Howard, and it's good they're listening to you because you'll go right to them and say, wake up, do something. Don't sit there and put your head in the sand. But a lot of it is, and part of it is they don't have the business acumen and they're afraid of it. And so they're very comfortable. Dentists are very comfortable drilling and clinical. But when you start dealing with staff, the ADA reports that staff-related issues is by far the number 1 problem when it comes to dentists. So they don't want to go there.
Well, I think that's all of life. I mean, we just had Thanksgiving. I mean, everybody wants to eat the turkey, but no one wants to sit by their crazy Uncle Eddie and listen to his crazy rants and conspiracies. All 4 of my grandparents went to the grave knowing that the Apollo mission was filmed in Hollywood and was to scare the Russians. I mean, so yeah, dealing with people, whether it's your uncle, your cousin, staff. I mean, social animals just don't want to have uncomfortable conversations, and you have to. So what I like a lot about you and your model is it's mostly online. You don't have to. I don't have to fly my staff to another city. So talk about what you're doing. If they went to AllStar Academy and learned how to make lasagna.
Dental Academy.
No, I said to learn how to make lasagna. You got to eat first. You go to AllStar Academy and you learn how to make lasagna.
Right.
And then you eat and you're all full. Then you go to AllStar Dental Academy. Like how many modules are there? How much does it cost? How long start to finish and money and hours to ramp up someone answering the phone? You said profoundly that Ritz-Carlton takes 3 months of training before you can answer the phone.
That's what I would call onboarding. What I would say is, AllStar was designed as a done for you system, a customer service based system, not sales. And we could talk about the differences later. Based a lot, like I talked about, the Fortune 500. Now, here's a key distinction. A lot of dentists are like, well, what can I buy to fix the problem and be done with it? It doesn't, that's not a recipe for success. Training comes in two forms. Onboarding, which is how do we get our team up to speed very quickly, and that can be done within about 90 days, okay? Then it's comprehensive training. How do we consistently train, right, to maintain that level and go deeper to create a competitive advantage? Because I did a study with the AACD with Lauren Levine, digital dentist, great guy. If you haven't interviewed him, he's the guy.
I have.
He's the best. We did a study, and 97% of dentists trained less than once a year on customer service. So my point, that's horrible, but dentists listening, if you're taking action, a lot of your comrades are not doing it, okay, for a number of reasons, and many won't. And so first is philosophical. You understand that you want to accomplish two things. You want to onboard them, and then you want to be able to consistently train. And that's what AllStar provides, a way to get them up to speed quickly. And how do you create ongoing success? So
you're called onboarding and on training?
And comprehensive training, or ongoing comprehensive training.
Ongoing.
Right.
So onboarding,
right,
and then ongoing.
That's right. Now, when you're training your assistant, you tell her or him or her once, and and you're learning a new concept, even you learning a new concept. What happens over time? Do you just remember it forever? Do you just, in terms of sports, do you see the best in the NBA? Are they still practicing free throws and layups? You never get too good. You got to keep going, because if you stop doing that, you're going to start reverting back. Your fundamentals will break down, and you go back to what you normally do.
Yeah, I believe in on training, ongoing. I even believe in cross training. Sometimes I eat.
Sure.
I hold the fork with my left hand, just to make sure I can always eat. So let's get back to the specifics though. How much is the onboarding? How much is the ongoing? Is this something they would do? Most dentists, they see patients Monday through Thursday, and Friday's a half day for business.
Sure.
What's the logistics of this?
So the logistics are this, and I would recommend the best way to do something. I'll recommend at the end a training webinar that explains everything and puts it in perspective. Because I know, Howard, you're like, get to the point. What is it? Boom, boom, boom. And it's not that easy, because I could give you all the details, and I guarantee you very few will take action. Do you know why?
Because they're dentists?
Yeah. Well, because it's not personal.
Your dad was a dentist. That's why you became a lawyer.
Well, it's because it's not personal. They don't feel it. They don't see it. They're not. This is right now. This is very academic, right? You have to go through. You have to think about it. You have to, when it comes to that. But in terms of the most basic level, okay, and my prescription for success is this. After onboarding, which is where you get your team up to speed very quickly, 20 minutes a week. That's it. 20 minutes a week of coursework, which is what we have with AllStar. Phone skills, scheduling. We'll be coming out next year with the patient experience, case acceptance, right? Doing that 20 minutes a week. Then we do some other great things. We do expert webinars. We interview great people like you and others in dentistry. I have you in our archives. We do study clubs. So these are other ways to learn that are more not systematic, more like just random topics. But the AllStar platform is very systematic, and that's what's missing in dentistry is systems. Versus I'm just learning a bunch of things that doesn't make sense. So that's the other thing. And the last point I want to make is dentists are very tactical. Right? Let me just do this or do that. But you have to have a strategy for training that is going to stick. Okay? Because most dentists will start things, stop, and try every program in dentistry. I speak to so many dentists, and they'll tell me, I've done this person, and some great people that I'm big fans of in dentistry, but they don't follow through with it. Right? So what I'm all about here is how do you get stuff done? I'll keep my PG language here. Get stuff done. Right? And stick with it. Not just, AllStar's not, I'll tell you this, AllStar's not for those people who just want to try something and just want to dabble. We're not about dabblers, and people that want to make a difference in their life and want to stick to it and have conviction. Otherwise, there's plenty of great programs out there, just, fun informational products.
Well, I repeat myself all the time, and some of my friends ask me, why you keep saying that? It's like, because I'm a dentist. I've been a dentist for 29 years. I know my homies, and we're chefs, and we want to go to AllStar Academy and learn a recipe to make lasagna.
Yes,
And
yes, yes, yes,
they always
yes,
want to solve when their house is not
yes,
in order. They always want to solve it with a new recipe, CAD cam, a laser,
yes,
all place
yes,
implants, all do,
yes.
and they keep learning all these recipes because they never have their house in order. And I've always told them, and I'll tell them, I've done 600 shows that when you say to me, should I learn how to do Invisalign or implant? None of that's going to make your
That's
house in
right.
order.
That's
Get
right.
your damn house in order. Get
Yes.
the business nailed. And then
Right.
you'll be so successful and make so much money, you can do all those just for fun. And when you learn implants, you can do
Right.
some implant rehab, full
Right.
mouth for free on a
Right.
homeless vet
Right.
because you're having fun because
Right.
you're wealthy and rich. And they never want to focus on the
Well, why
business.
is it, Howard? Why is it?
Why is that?
Why is it dentists will go do every clinical thing out there and want to explore something new than to do the things that we're talking about? Why?
Because they went into healthcare. They wanted to heal with their hands. Dentistry is surgery, 24 hours a day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What do you think it is?
The reason that they're doing that, in my opinion, because I also grew up with the dentist, my father, and I was consulting for his practice, and I would sit there and I would argue with him. I don't know if you would do your sons, because I thought I was right and he had his thing. But I think it is what I see, it's comfort zone. Yes, they're built to be health, but it's so scary, not with the staff, but to look at oneself. Because, I was just talking to Dennis today, and he went right away and bought a practice. And was like, whoa, that was not what I was looking to get myself into. I didn't expect that I would have to go years without getting paid, right? So I don't know if you learned from the E-Myth Revisited, a great gentleman, Michael Gerber, who I actually got to speak with on stage, that most people, most business people, or most people are artists. Most dentists are artists. They're not entrepreneurs, let alone managers, right? But to be great and to be able to have what you're talking about, because you have it, you're an entrepreneur and an artist, right? You developed yourself, but to be able to do it, you have to put the artistry aside for a second. And you have to be able to look, number one, at you as a leader, because everybody responds to you. And no training program, mine or anybody on this planet, or any consultant is going to help fix that, right? As if you said, you can't get your inner stuff organized in an order, okay? And you got to be so focused as a business person. This is what I want to do. How did you build a great practice? How did you build Dental Town? Just futzing around?
No, it was a focused mission.
And you're a pit bull. You don't relent. You don't give up, And that's what dentists have to do. They have to be in that state. As part of me, because of my Tony Robbins background, you got to be in that state. Okay, number one state. Then you got to have the system or recipe book. One of our advisors, I want to recognize him, Dr. Ron Richardson, former president of the Florida Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry. When I was building AllStar years ago, he was there with me. He says, dentists need a recipe book, step by step what to do. They love recipe books. And that's what AllStar is. I give them exactly what to do step by step, okay? But it's still not going to work if you don't have, you have to have know you have a problem and want to fix it, right? And be able to stick with it, okay? And have that conviction. That's leadership. And that's how you get what, it's work. But then you'll be happy. Then you can go to seminars and have all the fun you want with implants and the machines that you want to buy. When you have so much disposable income, it's not a problem, right? That's a lot better place.
So the ongoing training you said was 20 minutes a week?
20 minutes a week. That's it.
So when they join allstardentalacademy.com, they first you have a program to get them on board.
Yep, that's right.
And then after that, you're talking about a 20-minute webinar or video? Or
20-minute, we have bite-sized units of 5 to 15 minutes. And you watch up to 20 minutes of it. And they're animated. They have coursework that follows, questions, quizzes to test understanding. We also grade a phone call every month to make sure that they're scoring well. There's no like pass fail. All the scores lead to information where in the program you need to study. Okay. So that's how it works. It's not just random webinars, very, very polished and very systematic. Everything builds to something.
Okay, and then talk about the getting starting. You just logged on. You're the typical dentist. You got
Great.
2 hygienists, 2 assistants, 2 receptionists. Talk about the onboarding from.
Sure. So the first step is a doctor will watch the action plan video, okay, which gives exactly what to do in all the different ways to train. And I update that twice a year, if not more, with new ideas because I'm always learning more from the dentist and different ways to implement. So there's their plan with a 40-page recipe book of what to do step by step, okay? Then the next step is they're going to work with their team. Their team is going to watch their action plan video and step by step what to do, and that's short, okay? And then they begin the onboarding process we call quick start, where they get the fundamental phone and scheduling skills they need to get started right away. That's the first few steps up to onboarding. And
when you're onboarding existing front desk, admin staff, front desk, receptionists, insurance coordinators, office managers, what are the main problems you're trying to solve? Is it mainly you're generating word of mouth referral, these people are calling your office, but your receptionist is so undertrained that 3 people have to call before she can convert 1 to an appointment in the chair? Is it dealing with price shoppers? I mean, a very common phone call is how much you charge for a crown.
That's right.
Probably the next most common question is, do you take my insurance?
That's right. That's right.
Did I get them right?
Oh, yes, absolutely right. Those are the top 2. Great.
What are the top 2 then?
Those are it. That's that. Those are the most popular and toughest questions that are out there. What do you charge, and do you take my insurance? Those are the very difficult initially, but those are, what we train is how to overcome those, amongst other things, whether you're in network, out of network, your office is too far, all the common objections and questions that are out there.
You want to go through some of them, what you train?
Oh, in terms of the different questions and objections?
Yeah. So they call your office. Dr. Alex Nottingham. Your dad was a dentist. You're an attorney with an MBA. Can you do how much do you charge for a crown?
Okay.
Is it less money since you're a lawyer, or does being a lawyer make it twice as much?
So we have a process that we call the Great Call process. And so just GREAT. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do our greeting, right? So we just kind of, and we're going to follow that process, because one of the main issues that we have with when it comes to anything, let me step back for a second. Before going into the great call process, one of the fundamental problems is the issue where a caller calls and they're dictating the conversation. So, they're, and certainly working with a personality like you're going to come in, bam, right? And they're off state. I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. They don't even have a process, right? So really what we do is we want to first, GREAT, do a great greeting, short, all right? We want to have our salutation. We want to get their name. We want to come to their office. And we want to then, so here's the trick. We call it a transition statement. Let me just kind of give you, because I can spend 2 hours on the great call process. So you start going into, what do you charge for blah, blah, blah. So I say, oh, Dr. Howard Farran, may I ask you a few questions so I can better assist you? And we have many variations of that. If you're not a total schmuck, which you're not, you would say, oh, sure, I would love to be better assisted. Who doesn't? So then you start going into the process. So you build, then part 2 is rapport, the most important part of the great call process. Okay, so here is where you're going to get to know the person. Ask them questions. Well, tell me a little bit more about what you're looking to do. Are there veneers for you, if they're asking about veneers, or for your friend? So you go through that process. Now, this is where AllStar is very, very different from a lot of other companies that are turning out there. We're very rapport-based versus a sales process. Where a sales process, if you want to get them, the schedule as quickly as possible, and we don't want to spend too much time on the call. Some people say you should only spend a few minutes on the call. Here is the key. This is where you get to separate and become a great brand, is spend as much time as necessary to build rapport. And we give different examples: active listening, open-ended questions, and so on. So after you've built rapport and this person likes you, understands that you have empathy for them, then you get to engaging, which is step E, engage, where you answer the question. You kind of put it in perspective. So for the price question, okay, what you're going to do is you're going to show and tell is what we call it, okay? So first is you're going to show the value. You're going to say, well, Dr. Farran has been 29 years in dentistry. You may have heard Dental Town. He is leading when it comes to implant dentistry and cosmetic dentistry. We take great care of our patients, whatever. Because I believe you don't even take insurance from last we spoke, right? You're pure fee for service, correct?
We're fee for service, but we take insurance.
Okay, but it's out of network, essentially.
No.
So you submit for them?
No, I'm in Phoenix. We take PPOs too.
Oh, okay. So either way, so you do the show portion of it, okay? Then you want to, so you're kind of putting things in perspective, and you're calling what we call share the sizzle, where you're talking about how you're special, and then you explain that our veneers or our implants typically range between this and this, depending on the lab we use, and so on. So you're putting everything in perspective. You had a great greeting, you built amazing rapport, you got to know the person, you put everything in perspective, then you go into the final steps, asking for the appointment and taking information. Okay, so we spend modules and units on each area, step by step, a little bit every week to master each step, so that, and then there's practice, right? And being prepared, right? To be able to handle different variations. So, but here's the key. When you give a patient that amazing experience, they may not book. They still may, I just want a price, or, you're too expensive, whatever it might be. But they will have had a great experience with your office. Okay, and that increases your chance to convert them. But as well, when they go to somewhere else, they compare the experiences. And I've seen time and time again, they come back because you get what you pay for.
So the dentists, they want to spend all their time learning how to make, do different dental procedures. And then when you talk about the business of dentistry, a lot of them think that they throw in the towel because they think corporate is taking over. Does corporate dentistry do a better job at training their admin staff? And do you see that old school guys like me, offices, do you think they're really under a threat from corporate, or?
Yes, I think corporate dentistry is a threat to some, and I think others it's not. I think, what we teach and what I believe in is if you follow not just AllStar, but the principles that we're putting out, which can be embodied in many great companies out there, that it's irrelevant. Because, but what's interesting is I have seen some corporate practices corporates are so interested right now in gaining market share at any cost. So they're slower to train, but they're going to train. They're going to eventually get the systems in place. But they cannot train at the level that we are purporting with AllStar. They will not invest the time. They will not allow, because if you're corporate, you're thinking big picture. How much are they spending on the phone? What's the call center data, right? I don't want to spend more than 3 minutes. I'm losing money, right? Their volume. But if you want to be quality dentistry, the Ritz-Carlton of dentistry, and you train this way, there's no competition. They can't compete. You cannot compete, Dennis, listen to me. You cannot compete as a cost cutter with a corporate practice. Their economies of scale is too large. Good luck. But if you're going to provide high-end quality, I'm not just saying, necessarily fee for service, but just you can still take insurance, but they're going to be coming to an office, a great office, where they have a great experience. That's going to be a differentiating factor. So if you do that and you commit to that, they're not a threat.
Well,
if you're not going to do it, they're a threat.
You're a lawyer, and my son Greg was the first one to throw it to me when everybody was thinking about how big is this going to get. He said, "Well, look at law. They went corporate long before dental did, and it was about half. It was about half the lawyers are in big firms and half are solo. You're a lawyer. Yeah. Is that still about what the lawyers are doing today? There's 1 million lawyers. Is it still about half and half?"
your guess is as good as mine. I don't.
Greg researched it out, and we looked at it. It was about half and half. But
Yeah.
and everybody I know that's been in marketing for dentistry for 30 years has always said that they always thought that 324 million Americans pretty much split down the middle. Half were just volume, and half were value.
Sure.
And what you're talking about is a value play. Where
That's right.
Half of America. And by the way, a lot of dentists think that if you're poor, that you just want to go to volume, and that couldn't be further from the truth.
No.
There's girls that work at the Waffle House that care more about what their front tooth look like, and gets $100 weaves and $300 bleach their hair blonde. And just because you took the bus doesn't mean that you'll pay for value.
Absolutely.
And that's what
absolutely.
And that's what AllStar Dental Academy is. It's for the half the American dentists who are going to go into a value play.
Course.
And that becomes a golf game, working on your own game. It's not a volume play where you're in a boxing match with 35 corporate chains that have 50 offices or more.
Correct. Although we do have, I don't know if I call them corporate. We have maybe offices that have owned 20 or 30 offices that are valued offices, and there are some corporate practices that are competing in the value space, right? Well, but the vast majority are more the typical the mill cost cutter type.
Well, here's my thoughts on the corporate. When I go into a town, whether it be just little bitty towns like Sioux Falls or some little city, and they go from one location to a north, south, east, west, it gives them enough volume and scales of economy to have someone full-time in marketing and HR and training. And I think that model is much more efficient than solo practice. But what I don't see any efficiency is when you have these 5 or 10 or 20 offices in these different markets, and then you add a third layer. So now you got this top layer that's taken 14, 15, 18% on top. I don't see any value added there.
No.
And then they want to sell that to somebody on Wall Street that wants that 15, 16, 17% return. And that's what, I totally believe.
And they're not and you probably see, and I've seen them, some of them are not that efficient. And a private practitioner in that market, like you're right, a non-rural market, can wipe their clock. Okay. Because again, Wall Street, we all know what Wall Street likes to do. We saw with the housing market and others. We're going to pump money in. We're going to do a lot of acquisition, and corporate will keep growing until it doesn't. And you're going to see some just epically fail because they're trying to beat the other guy getting more markets, but they're not being efficient. It's like dentists. We're spending a lot of more marketing, but we're not getting the training done. And they're skipping training too when it comes to this stuff, and they're going to get clobbered.
Yeah, and the first round, they all disappeared. I mean, Orthodontic Centers of America was on the New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah,
there was a dozen on NASDAQ. Yep. They all imploded.
Of course.
A decade goes away. Everyone forgets. Now they're back. And Wall Street didn't forget. Remember, not one of these corporates today, not one of them is publicly traded. If it was a profitable company growing in earnings, they'd all be on NASDAQ. Not one of them is on NASDAQ. And there's a good reason. It's because Wall Street didn't forget what happened when they tried this 30 years ago with Orthodontic Centers of America, where their conclusion was when you employ 100 dentists, it's like herding cats.
It is.
It's herding cats. And I'll tell you what, but I don't want to talk about the clinical, because if 100 dentists looked in your mouth, and you're a lawyer, if 100 dentists looked in your mouth, you would have 100 different treatment plans. Sure. So you can't even address that. But I'm trying to, the Greeks said we just have greed and fear. So I'm trying to paint some greed and fear pictures, because in my mind, the highest return on investment for a dentist is not learning a new surgical dental procedure. It's always a dental consultant, a business consultant.
That's right.
If you put $50,000 into $135,000 into a Lanap, that's not going to be nearly the return on investment.
That's right.
Then if you went and got the two most expensive dental consultants out there, probably $50,000, and have one of them for a year, and then try another one for a year, that would be 5 times the return.
Right. Well, you got to look. It goes back to ROI, and for those that don't know what that means, return on investment. And I got to be careful. I used to say ROI, and some dentists says, what are you talking about? Some do know. Return on investment, okay? And so it all comes down to that at the end of the day. And I think sometimes we get sold by these reps or whatever that say, you're going to make all this money, right? By adding more operatories and adding more machines, but you have to have patience in the machines to use. And how are you going to do that? Well, spend more on marketing, right? But if you see how expensive it is, missing those conversions, and the average new patient value first year $642, right? And then the lifetime value, take that over 10 years. But then you have to, you're absolutely right on consulting, right? And we do provide coaches and consultants, but we've actually divorced consulting and coaching from the content. You can get the content without the coach or consultant, right? But I think it's amazing to have both. And there's so many amazing consultants and coaches out there. I agree with you. I think if you go with that, you're going to have an amazing return on investment as long as you listen and you really try what they want to accomplish, okay? Because they're focusing on how to make your practice more efficient, how to get a return on investment, okay? How to get you, oh, my screen went off. There we are. And so on. So
well,
you said
I would say the difference in the content and the coaching is very similar. When I turned 50, I realized, okay, the first half century, I didn't make it to the gym every day. So it's probably not going to change for the second half of the century. So I have two Ironman ladies my age that have done dozens of Ironmans on, and one of them knocks on my door every morning at 5 a.m.
That's right.
If you get the content and you build $1 million practice the first year out of school, definitely by 2 years, you don't need anybody. But the reason you need a consultant is because someone has to hold your feet to the fire and keep monitoring, or what you call ongoing, until it works.
Absolutely.
So, if you're not $1 million practice, but
I would even challenge you. I would even challenge you on this. I would say that even the $1 million practices, the multi-million-dollar practices, coaching is great. And I see with AllStar, I was asked the other day about what percentage of our clients do coaching, and what don't. And what's interesting is you would think that just the ones that need it, quote, need it, are getting it. But a lot of the ones that don't need it are begging for it because they know that they're, and again, corporate, whatever it might be that they're concerned about, they know if they miss their edge, they want to keep their edge. And if I can spend, I don't know, coaching consulting ranges between 30 and 20 and 50. If I can spend this amount and I can keep where I'm at or grow and get better. I mean, this may sound blasé or whatever, but you think of the great athletes, Michael Jordan had Phil Jackson, right? Bill Clinton had Tony Robbins. I mean, you have all these great people that have these top coaches, and tennis players are always changing coaches. They want to get the edge. So a lot of these, even if you don't want to open up multiple practices, I have a lot of practices that want to keep open up more. They want to be their own mini corporate practices. Coaching, consulting can help you get there, right? But so I would say that's great, and certainly, and unfortunately, a lot of ones that need it, they lack what you're just saying, Howard, the perception. Well, I'd rather remodel my office, even though I can't pay the next week's salary. I'd rather buy the new CEREC machine, even though I can't, afford a new patient coordinator or something. Their priorities are off, right? And they're not going to invest in coaching and consulting. And that's unfortunate. So part of this, I guess, this podcast, what you're doing, and I've heard you before, you're really a big fan of coaching and consulting, raise awareness that you got to do it. And then I will say one other thing too I want to add. Sometimes dentists will come to me. I speak to so many. I get all this juicy stuff. They say, I've done consulting or coaching in the past. I've done a program in the past, and I didn't get a return. And so they're like, I'm not doing it again. It's like going to the dentist and you had a bad experience. I'm not going to get my teeth looked at ever again. What's going to happen to your teeth? You're going to rot out. Okay? So it's same thing with coaching, consulting, and training. Whatever it is, AllStar, whatever you choose, you got to do it. And whether you need it or you don't think you need it, like you got to stick with it, okay, and find the right thing until you make it happen. That's it.
And and I always tell them, the same thing, like a diet. Okay, so what are you saying? You
That's
went
right.
on a diet and you didn't lose any
You're
weight,
done.
so
Didn't
you're just
work.
gonna eat Twinkies the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And the best
True.
dieting advice I ever heard from a nutritionist. She says, well, you're 54. She said, what diet? What did you ever do in the last 54 years that worked? She goes, don't listen to me. I don't even want you to do client. Go back. She goes, did you ever do anything that worked? And I said, hell yeah. She goes, well, just go back
do
and
that.
do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do what works.
So I'm going to talk about the CEREC machine because that's an interesting folly. They think, oh my God, I can do same day crowns. Okay, I've been a dentist 29 years, and if I told 100 people they need a crown, half would ask, how much is it? What does insurance pay? The other half would all ask, is it going to hurt? You're going to give me a shot? Will you knock me out? Maybe only one time a year someone says, well, you know what? I'm really busy. I'm flying out tomorrow.
I need to write this.
I need it today. And so they'll invest $150,000 in CAD CAM, and then I'll sit there and go to their office and I'll say, well, how many new patients you get each month? And they'll say, oh, we get 20. And I say, well, I can prove to you that if you get 20 new patients a month, 40 people called your office and talked to your receptionist and were on the verge of coming in, and your receptionist couldn't close the cell, and your answer is to invest in a same-day crown. Are you out of your mind? So is that true? Can you, as a lawyer with an MBA, basically look at the average dentist and say, tell me how many new patients you get a month and double it? That's how many tried to get. That's how many called your office.
I say triple it.
You say triple?
I mean, I'm just going, look, from call statistic, from many programs we work with in research, the average office is getting 135 new patient opportunities per month. Only 48 book. Now, again, you can go by size. That's a third. Okay. And yes, you're not going to book all of them, but I think you're right. There's many, many more that you could if you have proper verbiage and you built a relationship with them and you knew, and you were prepared and you're proactive. You weren't sitting there like, I don't know. I mean, it's amazing how there's no answer, or you go over clinical with them and you say, oh, the doctor's going to drill and going to remove tooth structure. And I think you do sleep dentistry. Don't you do sedation?
Yeah.
Some sedation. They're going to run from that. So they're not prepared. It's reactive versus proactive scheduling, reactive versus proactive responses. So you're absolutely right.
And I'm going to repeat myself another time. 29 years of going to CE courses, the dentists that bring all their staff, their take-home pay is twice of what all the single dentists come by themselves saving money. They always come by themselves to save money because they don't have any money. But the dentist, and then the richest dentist, in that office sends 3 rows of staff, and the dentist doesn't even go.
That's true. Yeah.
It's like if you're a millionaire, you're going to send 25 people there. And if you have no money, you're going to go by yourself. I mean, it's the point I'm trying to make is put all your money in training HR, not all your money in learning how to bone graft and place an implant.
Right. I will say, though, it's sometimes when I speak, I'll say, I'll ask people about, because we're at a seminar, and I'll say, well, you're all here and they're all enjoying the seminar. We do a good show. And I say, well, what happens when you go back to your office after you learned everything I just discussed with you? And everybody says very little. Because the problem with seminars is you go there and I'll tell you what I like about seminars. There is something amazing for it, and I think I recommend you do a lot of them for that one reason. But it's not for content. Seminars are not for content. You need a way to bring it back with you in a system and continue to have it going. But seminars are great for team building. It's great to have fun. It's great for morale. It's great. And that is the intangible. And I think so many people really enjoy that. They feel a part of something. And dentists need to be leaders and look, you built Dental Town. Every time I talk to you, everything out of your mouth is Dental Town, Dental Town, Dental Town. Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Like, you live and breathe it. That's what dentists have to do when it comes to their practice, is everything they do, they got to live it. They have that passion, and they have to be able to get their team to share that. And I think seminars do a good job with that.
I want to ask you another question off topic. You and I are both MBAs.
Yes.
You were a lawyer, became an MBA. I was a dentist, became an MBA. Lots of kids ask, they're in dental school, a lot of these dental schools, they have programs now that while they're
Yes.
going to dental school, they could get a master's in public health. They could get an MBA. Sure. Do you think if some girl's 27 years old, she's working for Aspen, and she's kind of scared about starting her own place, do you think she should get an MBA?
I don't know. Here's I'll give you what I think based on my assumption, but I don't know enough about what they're teaching in the program. All I can know about what I learned as an MBA. Okay, so that's my caveat, because I haven't audited the dental programs that are out there and what they're teaching. But I would say instead of that, I would invest your money in a couple things: AllStar Dental Academy, Howard Farran's dental MBA program. I also have an AllStar Dental MBA. I think you need practical information that you can apply. MBA is very theoretical, okay? And if it's what I learned, which is strategic planning or strategic analysis, operations management, you're not going to use that. It's theoretical. It's impressive. If you want to feel good and have that prestige, great. But in making money and being efficient, you need real world things that work. Okay, so what I teach in my MBA material and in all that is I boil down all the academia. And I know, Howard, you do the same thing. You cut through all the academia and you make it simple, right? And you get to how do you apply it versus just the MBA. So my answer is not knowing what they're teaching. If they're teaching things that are very applicable versus theoretical, I would advocate the MBA. But if it's just you're learning about macro and microeconomics, which I love that stuff. I'm a geek when it comes to that stuff. And if you want just to geek it out and learn some cool stuff, do it. But if you want to apply that to build a business, I would instead put that thousands of dollars into a consultant or coach to put your practice together. I mean, you'll learn so much from that.
I'm a big fan of your podcast. I think I've listened to 7 of your podcasts. I wish you'd put those on Dental Town, because we have a podcast section, and what happens is when people have a podcast, they put on Dental Town, and it's on the app. A lot of times that's marketing for it, and then they end up listening to it.
I want all of you to
watch
watch this. See what he just did? He eats and breathes this stuff. Which is great. I mean, that's what you have to be in your practice. Is everything out of your mouth is about that, and your team, right? The podcast. I stopped the podcast process. And now what I do is I do expert webinars. The versus the podcast format. But I guess I could convert it.
I should still put your original 7 podcasts on there, because it's marketing. Yeah. I mean, there's 235,000 dentists on Dental Town. 50,000 have downloaded the app, and they're
all yours, Howard. They're all yours. I'll put them on.
Yeah, I'd put those on there, because the reason I was talking about that is one of the podcasts that was very meaningful to me. You talk a lot about broken appointments.
Yes.
Talk about broken appointments, because a lot of people, I mean, I'm serious. Probably half the dentists listening to you, when they find out after a root canal that their next patient canceled, it's like their only belief that there really is a God. They're like, oh my God, that is so awesome. I'm going to go to the break room and eat a bunch of Cheetos. But tell them the dark side of broken appointments. You talk about that a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, first you got to look at what's it costing you, right? So we do a little analysis where we have 2 doctor broken appointments. Let's say it happens per week. And these are not restorative cases, not what Howard's doing in this case. But let's just say it's $500 an hour, which is a dental economics. And I saw some research on your Dental Town about this for what a doctor should be producing. Okay, so 2 doctor appointments per week, 4 weeks per month. Okay, 5,000 multiply 4,000 a month just on broken appointments. Then you go to hygiene, which gets slaughtered. Okay, let's say you have 2 hygienists and they're both getting 4 a week, right? It's 8 times $100 an hour for hygiene. These are assuming they're not doing perio cleanings and so on. That's 3.2 thousand a month. So you're like $7,200 a month for an average size practice just on broken appointments. Okay, it's crazy. And you heard Larry Gazzardo, our head instructor. Whenever we go speak, I bring him for broken appointments because he's amazing at teaching them, and that's what we actually have our grace with Larry for scheduling. He teaches our scheduling course, and don't get him started on broken appointments. It's crazy, and a lot of it is not that patients are so bad, but that it's teaching, because a lot of times what happens in offices is you go, oh, they'll call, they'll say, I want to change my appointment. Oh, sure, and they won't even reschedule. Okay. Oh, I can't make it. Okay, no problem. Then doctor gets angry. Why do I have holes in my schedule? What's going on? Because I'm sick of eating, I don't know what you say, Cheetos all day, or when I'm when I miss the appointment. So now they say, I want you to penalize them. Well, Mr. Smith, I'm going to have to charge you for that broken appointment. Are they going to pay it? Probably not. And you probably just have a great chance of losing that patient. Okay. So what we teach is, it's not about punishing, but teaching. Okay? Can we find a way to set things up right? Now, number one, if you do a great phone call, and in our phone call, we even say at the very end of the phone call that we teach is we provide some verbiage to get them to make a verbal commitment that they'll be able to show up for their appointment or provide us at least 48 hours notice. And there's studies that show when people make a verbal commitment over the phone, that they're much more likely, I got to find the exact statistic, to keep that appointment. So already with the phone call, we're setting things up. This is why my mind's so strategic. That's why I don't have any hair, too many thoughts, right? And how to get that set up. And then with the broken appointment policy, somebody calls, and first of all, we use some language like, oh, well, Dr. Farran was so excited to see you. Are you sure you can't keep your appointment? So we have different example verbiage. So we don't believe in scripts. We want to sound natural. So we give various verbiage analogies or examples for them to choose from. But the idea is we want them to consider what's going on. Because I guarantee you, not that Howard and I would ever go there, but if you had a hair appointment, okay, then most people would rather cancel their appointment with the dentist than for their hairdresser or their nail tech. Why is it? Why?
Beauty. Beauty is more important than health.
Well, you're making some beautiful teeth. I mean, part of it is they really are friendly with that person. They have a rapport with that, and they feel bad. Like, oh, if I cancel, this is what they make income on. I can't do that to them. But the dentist, he's driving a Porsche, and they don't even. And I call the office, and they don't even treat me like I'm that important. I'll cancel. And then when you call, they go, oh, sure, no problem. So a lot of things have to change. One is we have to recognize patients can be taught, okay? And we can set it up well and provide them a great experience and building rapport with them. They're going to want to come to your office.
I'm hard on my homies because it's Dentistry Uncensored, and I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to tell them the damn truth. But I got to give my homies one massive piece of credit. When you're in America, the dentists, the vets, and chiropractors are the Ritz-Carltons compared to the 1 million MDs. I mean, sure. I'm in a lot of dental offices, vets, I got cats. I mean, I swear to God, dentists, vets, and chiropractors are so close to Bloomingdale. Every physician I go to, it's a sliding glass door. It's somebody with a bad attitude handing me a chart without making eye contact, signing in. They're always late.
True.
I mean, and the hospitals. So I've been to the hospital about 3 times in the last 30 years, always for a kidney stone. And last time I was in the hospital, like every 8 hours, someone would come in there with the same form, asking me what my name was. And I'm like, dude, I'm naked with 2 bracelets and a gown. I've been in here for 12 hours. How the hell do you not know who I am? I mean, so they're so much better. Dentists are doing it so much better than the MDs. I think the MDs.
They are, and I agree with that. But I will say this, and I totally agree. But I think you're letting them off the hook. I'll tell you why. Who are we comparing ourselves to? What is our standard? Is it the MDs?
No.
Or do we want to be like the Ritz-Carlton, right?
Right.
Because that's not acceptable. The way it is right now with dental offices, the average office, it's not acceptable. It's a lot better. I mean, Heather, the other day, it's just funny. It's funny you said this. It was last night. We went to see a movie, and she goes, well, I want to help more people, and I want to help the other MDs and the plastic surgeon. I said, do you? I said, dentists are adorable people and they're dense. You wait till we go to the MDs. I says, dentistry, we're focusing. They're, because I will say this. I made this assumption and I had no research basis for this, but my dad is a sweetheart and so many people take advantage of him. And that's what really drove me to want to do this. Okay. It wasn't money because I did very well with Tony Robbins. I saw what my dad went through and I said, if I can help other dentists not have to go through that, because it pissed me off how much he got taken advantage of. Staff walked all over him, all this stuff. And a lot of it was his stuff, but I had to coach him and push him. But, I lost train of thought. What was I talking about?
How dentists are doing it better than the MDs.
Yeah. So what I was saying is my assumption was that they were all like my dad. Good people, just missing some strategies and afraid of some stuff. And I would tell you, I've spoke with hundreds if not thousands of dentists on the phone, and they're built that way. There's some variations, but most are built that way. They're good people, just need a little extra. And that's what motivates me. That's my mission. That's what excites me to do that. So yes, they're good people, and they're better than a lot of other organizations. And forget even MDs. You get call like the tire shop. I mean, we call, because what we do, any place we call, we go, seriously? That's your customer service? You call to get your maintenance on your vehicle. It's like, really? Do you want business? Are you trying to have business? People will tell you, call me back later. Call you back later? What do you? But the thing is, I would say for dentistry, because of the threats, corporate and other, and just because of the economy, a lot of factors out there, because the money isn't the way it used to be. You got to fight a lot harder for it now than you did. Okay, marketing is a lot more saturated. Make your standard the Ritz-Carlton. Make your standard Bloomingdale's. Make your standard the top dentist. I know, like Dr. Farran, Howard Farran, he shows examples of how he runs his practice. Use those as your model, and don't pat yourself on the back that you're a little better than a few MDs.
So talk about your on your website, allstardentalacademy.com. You have webinars. How often are your webinars? How long are they? How much do they cost?
Webinars, we do two things every month, completely free. We do expert webinars, so we interview the best in dentistry. Howard, I got to get you back on again. I haven't had you in about a year and a half. We have experts every month. Those are outside dentistry. Okay, and we're just bringing new ideas. I had a image special. I actually had a New York Times bestselling author. He wrote the book on the Ritz-Carlton book. I had him, and he gave me a $20,000 presentation for free. I don't know. Heather made it happen. I don't know how she did it. She guilt tripped him to do it. I don't know.
She just flashed her eyelashes at him twice.
She did. I mean, I don't know what she does. People just respond.
That's what I'm going to do. Today I'm going to go get fake eyelashes.
You got to get some beautiful hair too. And
should I get a wig too?
Yeah, I think so. But anyways, so
the webinars are the webinars.
Okay,
the webinars are live or are they?
They're live. We do them live every month, and we have study clubs where you get me and Larry Gazzardo, our head instructor, and we talk about many different issues every month: how to be an effective boss, huddles, budgeting, all these different things. And so if you get onto our list, you get those free every month. The replays, you have to be a member, but the live events are free. I also have 2 or 3 ongoing free webinars all the time for me. One is dental practice excellence, which is what we're talking a lot about today, where you learn about phone skills and scheduling. So that you can go to allstardentalacademy.com, click on the link, or you can go to allstardentalacademy.com/free-training. That would be the one I would recommend.
Okay, give those 2 websites again.
So we have allstardentalacademy.com. That's just, you'll find all the things you need there. And we have allstardentalacademy.com/free-training. And that's where you get the phone and scheduling training material.
All right. Well, that was the fastest hour I've ever done. If you and Ryan and Heather want to put any of, I love that YouTube video on your website because it's describing the problem. Because I really believe a lot of the reasons dentists don't solve, like their embezzlement issues, because they don't know they're being embezzled.
Absolutely.
And once they figure out they're embezzled, then the rest of their life they have
That's
put
right.
things in place. So
That's
I
right.
really like that video on your allstardentalacademy.com because you, Heather, and what's his name, Larry?
Larry, yep.
Yeah, Larry. We're describing the problem because I know a lot of people start talking about how to drive from Phoenix, where I'm at, over to LA, but the dentist sitting there saying, well, why the hell do I want to go to LA? I mean, they don't want to watch an embezzlement video because they don't know they're being embezzled. And you really painted the problem out well. And if you want to attach one of those webinars at the end of this podcast or anything
Absolutely,
else,
I'll get it to you.
yeah, just whatever you want at the end of this, just tell Ryan. But hey, seriously, thank you for all that you've done for my homies for years. Heather, your wife, is a townie. Tell her thank you for her post on Dental Town. I'd like to get your podcast on Dental Town because the next update to the app is going to organize, because now there's like 1,000 podcast shows on Dental Town by about 15 different people, but they're not arranged by topic. So the next update to the app is going to arrange them for endo, perio, pedo, practice management, and so there's someone's that way when someone comes onto a podcast and their only problem is endo, they can just listen to endo podcasts. But if they're getting beat up by overhead, and because if I ask any dentist what is your main problem, that every one of them will say staff. If I say what keeps you up at night, what makes you wake up nauseous, and it's their staff. And I don't want to say that it's usually the hygienist half the time because that just wouldn't be politically correct to say that. And then if it's not staff, then it's overhead. They've signed up on all these PPO plans. They feel like they're doing dentistry for free. They work their ass off all month. And then when they get done paying their bills, there's hardly nothing left. And then we're coming up on the worst time of the year, which is April, when their CPA calls them up and says, oh yeah, you need to write the IRS a check for 40 grand. And they're like, 40 grand? I don't have $40. How the hell could I owe the IRS 40 grand if I don't have any money in my checking account? Right. So I really love the people like you who are trying to get their business poised for growth, get their house in order so they can be profitable. And then once they're profitable, they became a dentist because they have those healing hands. They want to fix teeth. I mean, my favorite patient is a toothache that's in serious pain, and I'm just like a fireman with a water hose. Like, I don't care what it is, I can fix that. That makes me feel good. But they have to have their house in order.
I also want to say one last thing is I want to thank you, obviously, for having me on the program, and to your listeners, that Howard is just relentless at getting the best people in front of you and helping dentistry. One of the things that I want to leave you with is, and this helps me a lot too, and was, I think, help AllStar grow so much, is focus on being a go-giver, not a go-getter. And Howard has embodied that because he was with us when we first began, even before we had a training platform. And he was like, guys, do this, go, go, go. He's trying to help make dentistry better, not even just for Dental Town, just in general. And if you live like that, it feels good, and you're able to make a difference. You'll get it back. And so Howard's one of those guys, and so I appreciate you. Maybe it's a bald thing, I don't know, and a beard. So,
but it's true. People who think in hope, growth, and abundancy excel, and people who think in fear and scarcity. I remember, I'll never forget when I opened up my dental office. I ran across the street because I couldn't wait to meet all my homies, and half of them literally slammed the door in my face and told me that you shouldn't have gone here, and there's too many dentists, and they thought in fear. The other half were like, oh my God, come in, have a beer. Let's watch a ball game. 30 years later, guess which dentist had $1 million practices and which ones literally did nothing?
True.
Yeah.
It's true.
So thank you for always thinking in abundance.
Thank you.
Go get them. Go to AllStar Academy, AllStarDentalAcademy.com. Have a rockin' hot day, and tell your lovely wife I said hello.